Spicy new rumors and info indicate that 2 awesome horror games are headed to next gen, one on the Xbox side of things, one on the PlayStation side of things, and both of them sound very scary and very exciting. What's going on, everybody? It's Ghost Robo. This is good news. More games for next gen, please. We obviously know that come November, there'll be a lot of cross-gen titles. Like, it's safe to assume that the new Assassin's Creed will be on the new consoles, but we don't know a ton of games. We know about Halo Infinite, we know about Hellblade 2, we know about Godfall, and we know very little else. So when we get confirmation of another Ninja Theory title and a heavy rumor from pretty reliable sources about a Sony new horror IP from a very well-respected horror game director, it's pretty alluring, especially when there's also parallel rumors about Silent Hill coming back. So could this new Sony horror IP for PS5 be the return of Silent Hill? Would Kojima potentially be involved? We'll get to that one in a second. Let's start off with Ninja Theory, because that's just a straight up press release and interview, and here they are. They've got a new game. Make sure to let me know in the comments down below which of these you're most excited for. Ninja Theory's title called Project Mara, or the Sony horror IP. Anyhow, Project Mara is supposed to be a very experimental game that will be coming after Hellblade 2. They say that it will be very, very creepy. It's based on real lived experience accounts and in-depth research. Our aim is to recreate the horrors of the mind as accurately and realistically as possible. That comes from their commercial director over at Ninja Theory, Dom Matthews. In an Xbox.com article, Project Mara will be an experimental title and a showcase of what could become a new storytelling medium. And it's supposed to be a real-world, grounded representation of mental terror. Now that sounds very intense. It also sounds a little bit nebulous. We know that they've explored heavy mental themes with Hellblade, and they did so with, I feel, a lot of respect, a lot of affect, and still a really fun game. That's why Hellblade 2 people are super excited for it and hope it comes out around launch. This game doesn't have platforms announced, but it's safe to assume that since Microsoft owns Ninja Theory, it will be on Xbox Series X and likely also Xbox One and likely also PC. But it sounds very intriguing, and they want to make it like very scientific research based and very real world based. So what kind of game is this? Is it something along the lines of Until Dawn and Man of Medan? Is it more along the lines of Hellblade? Is it going to be using like real world footage? Is it going to be using animated characters? Are you going to even have control? Is it going to be choose your own adventure? I don't really know, but they definitely are looking to push the limits in terms of mental, psychological horror games and also storytelling in general. It says that the game is supposed to feature one character and one location, which is interesting. Like, are you locked in a room? Is it like escape room but horror room? I really love when Resident Evil did the escape room in 7. Like, that type of scenario was really, really fun. The mom had you locked down and you had to try to get out before she got back. Awesome. So I'm down for something like that. Probably have to wait a while to see more on this one. No screenshots, no trailer, no dates, no nothing. But good to know that Ninja Theory is cranking creative things out. Now, the second part of this is the Sony horror IP, and this originates from, and forgive me on pronunciation, Emir Kaya, who is an entertainment insider, has a lot of information on DC Batman stuff, but came through today and said, I know I don't normally post about gaming stuff except Batman-related things, but I've learned that Sony is currently working on a new horror IP. Interesting. Now, later in the day, he said, quote, by a very well-respected horror game director, and posted a gif of Kojima. This obviously sent the internet ablaze, but he clarified that he just hopes Kojima is directing. But what's interesting here, even though he gives no indication of what the game is one that we have had a rumor of what sounded like a horror type game, a demo that was linked to The Order. I don't think these are related at all because this is a new IP, according to Kaya. Though there's also a rumor about Silent Hill that dropped yesterday. The Silent Hill rumor comes from Aesthetic Gamer, who has had some very solid and accurate Resident Evil info. He knew that Resident Evil Resistance was related to Resident Evil 3. He says that 2 Silent Hill games are in the works. He says one of them is a reboot of the series, and one is an episodic adventure game based on the rebooted new world. He says, this is just a guess, but I'd say there's a high chance one or both of these titles may be revealed this year, but we'll see. I don't actually know their plans or anything about these games other than their existence, though. I don't know much about the inner workings of Konami. Now, if you were hoping for Hideo Kojima, then you're hoping it's not this Silent Hill thing. And also, they say that it's a new IP, so it's like, is he Is it a new IP, or is it that it's a reboot of Silent Hill, so they're going to quantify it as new IP? I don't know. I know people are very excited for the return of Silent Hill, especially after the whole Guillermo del Toro thing and Silent Hills and obviously PT and all of that just didn't materialize into anything. So potentially a new Silent Hill, potentially a new Sony horror IP. I think a horror IP would be a very interesting way to launch a console, whether it came out day and date or within the launch window, but it would be interesting. They've done a lot of really cool things this generation with horror games and expanding upon what they mean and what they can be. Back in the Amnesia days, it was all about just like hiding and doing nothing, and now we've seen so many different types, and you see Ninja Theory doing interesting things with sort of mental terror, mental horror. It doesn't have to be monsters, it could be inner demons, and Sony potentially doing something creative and unique as well with their own new IP, and maybe even a third in the form of the Silent Hill reboot. This could be 3 completely separate games all coming to next gen. I think it's safe to say that they are coming to next gen because everything announced for current gen is getting delayed, so there's very little hope that something gets announced and released before next gen drops. I mean, it's possible, it's plausible. RE3, the remake, has a very short hype cycle, so it's possible, but I think that, I honestly think these are all different. I think Silent Hill is being rebooted. I think Sony probably does have a horror IP. This Kaya seems to have a good track record with DC Batman news, apparently has some Sony contacts as well, and I think a new IP is exactly the way to start next gen. I'd love more new IP. We didn't get a ton of them this generation, a few. None of them really materialized, I feel, into big franchises, big trilogies. You could argue that Horizon Zero Dawn, fantastic, that's one game. I loved in the Xbox 360, PS3 era when we would get a smorgasbord of one new franchise. So Dead Space got 1, 2, and 3. Right? That was so cool. Gears got a whole bunch of games. I like when we see Mass Effect get 1, 2, 3. Like, there's so many you can go back to. Even Bioshock 1, 2, and 3, all in the same generation. I love when we get IP that are so endearing and so engaging that they're able to double down and create a franchise within a generation. I hope that we could have something start off at the beginning of these console cycles that could last throughout the entirety and gift us with multiple games, great experiences, ongoing characters and stories. What do you guys think about this? Are you excited about Project Mara, or does experimental game turn you off and make you think it's just going to be sort of more of an indie, very specialized project and not really a mainstream game? Or does that have you more excited? What about Kaya and the new horror IP? Do you think it could be from Kojima? Or do you think it could be Silent Hill? Or do you think it's something totally new altogether? Give me your take in the comments down below. If I hear anything else about any of these, I'll keep you guys posted. Next gen is rolling closer and closer as we speak. That PlayStation 5 reveal event, it's supposed to be next month. It's almost next month. I'm getting super excited. Hit that like button if you're excited for next gen. Let me know your take in the comments down below. Until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Have a fantastic freaking day. Drink some hot chocolate. Be good to yourself and others out there. And we'll see you all later.